Welcome to possibly one of the most sophisticated episodes we have ever done.
We're wearing collars.
Yes,
I'm just going to say, just wait.
Yes, I'm wearing my wedding bow tie. I messaged Paul and I said, should we put on nice shirts? And because our last podcast was a shambles.
So we finished our last podcast on at the end of our trip of Europe, and we decided to do like a ranking of all the countries we visited in Europe.
Of our favourite countries and why we enjoyed them.
That we visited. And in the process of doing that, we drank for each country. By the end of it, I honestly don't remember it.
Now,
Don't remember any of the countries?
No.
Did you drink a drink that was authentic to that country?
No, just Greek beer the whole time.
Greek beer.
Oh, so it
And
wasn't
ouzo.
like for Greece you got ouzo or no?
We drank a lot of ouzo, but you can actually see where he can't remember anything. And this usually podcasts take us about a day to edit. This one's taking us about 5.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there was a fair bit of cutting. So anyway,
Well, hopefully that won't happen today.
we should introduce who our guest is.
Yes, Paul, please.
This is Louise Baxter, CEO. Is a CEO exactly the right title?
Yes,
What does
it is.
CEO stand for?
Chief Executive Officer
Oh,
There you go.
of Starlight Children's Foundation Australia.
yes.
Yeah.
And we've been like in contact now for quite a while. It's been
Years.
2019, would it be at least? Maybe even.
Yeah.
It would have been 2019. Time is flying, Michael.
It is flying. We've been working together for over a year.
Oh, no. Anyway, where do we start?
Where do we start? First of all, let's actually start with what is Starlight Foundation. I don't want to go into the full history of you in there, just what it is in a nutshell, because then we want to go into a little bit more about you as a person, not
Okay.
just the Starlight Foundation.
Okay. Well, Starlight's vision is a world where everyone experiences a happy childhood, because happiness in childhood is one of the strongest determinants of how you perform in education, employment, and long-term healthy life behaviours. Children who are seriously ill have their ability to be a child and to be happy significantly impacted. So Starlight is there to transform their healthcare experience, whether that be treatment in hospital, wherever, provide moments of that all-important social connection, because the illness can be really socially isolating, and to provide entertainment. So basically Starlight's about fun and brightening the lives. And this, because it's all about complete mental health or holistic care, it's about the fact that your mental health can impact your physical health.
Correct.
And so it's all about improved health outcomes. So by giving kids their ability to be a child back to them, giving them those moments of childhood and fun, we look for improved health outcomes. And that's what we do right around the country.
And is it, because from what I understand, you're in every single women's and children's hospital in Australia.
We're in,
Every pediatric.
in every
Everyone
children's
has a pediatric
hospital,
ward.
every children's hospital in Australia, and then some.
Yeah.
And we're also in more hospitals for clinics, and then we're also in up to pre-COVID, we were up to 140 remote Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander communities as well, and we work with clinicians in those communities.
From my understanding, is it only with terminally ill children that get this benefit? Or?
No, it's with all children who are hospitalised or seriously chronically ill. And if we think about healthcare, 40 years ago, children who were diagnosed with a childhood cancer, for example, and Starlight is all illnesses and car accidents, everything. But if you just think of cancer, only about 20% of them survived.
Yeah.
Now, up to 80% of them survive, which is fantastic. And that's across cystic fibrosis, a whole lot of illnesses. And what we're now finding is that means there's more adolescents in hospital.
Yeah.
So, which is a great reason, because it's because of the improved survival rates of all of those illnesses. But that means we've developed over the years programs that specifically support adolescents, because they're there too. It's all of those things.
No, it's possibly because I know the reason why Paul chose it is it does such a great thing and he's focused all his attention on that.
I think we should probably touch on that, because if anyone's new, doesn't know much about me. So the reason why I know Louise Baxter so well is back in 2019, I started raising money, part of a program called Game Changers. And it was hosted through Twitch, where we would raise money for Starlight Children's Foundation Australia. Then after that, I think we raised $26,000 in 6 days. And at this stage, I wasn't like anywhere near as big as what I am now, or as popular.
It's kind of a big deal, Louise.
Oh, yeah.
It's such a big deal.
I didn't have the following that I have now, okay? And then so later on that year, I was talking to my wife and I was like, I really want to do something with the popularity that I'm getting. And I said, well, why don't we look at Starlight Children's Foundation Australia? And I spoke to a friend of mine. You've met him, Sean.
I have.
And his little sister passed away to bowel cancer. And Starlight was very involved in their, I guess, process, would you call it, like of her being treated and
Support.
Support, the support network. And I spoke to, Louise, and we came up with this idea, like, let's try and raise $1 million in a year. And we smashed it in 7 months.
Yeah.
Which was insane. And it's something I always hold very dear to myself. There's like an achievement for my life because I tried to do something with the opportunity that I had, and we did something cool with it.
It was absolutely remarkable. And all of those like full 24-hour stints of live streaming were just amazing. And to see people being so generous.
During a very crazy period.
It was
because it was 2020.
Yeah.
During COVID.
Yeah.
And I still don't understand the whole microwave thing, but I was
I don't understand it either.
I was on board.
My breakfast every day is made in a microwave, a Starlight Children's Foundation microwave.
Yeah, I hear stories of how Hugh Jackman won't show you your microwave, and then there's you have a controller, you have a video game controller that's a microwave.
We found his microwave anyway, so
okay, I'm very glad. Now, to mix things up a bit today, we will obviously go into this is. We would like to have a serious podcast one day, but we like to try new things on our podcast and not just have a new guest. We thought today. Now,
I'm part of an experiment.
You are.
Okay.
But instead of trying Greek beers and rating them.
Okay, good. Yeah.
Now, when you went to Grandma's house, did Grandma ever have a tin that was filled, not with lollies, but things for tea and coffee that you would dip in biscuits?
Oh, yeah. Dipping biscuits.
Always. Just your assorted cream biscuits and things like that.
Yeah, that's right. The assorted Arnott's pack.
Correct.
Yeah.
This is very accurate.
This is very, very accurate because I thought, what's something appropriate that we can do with someone of your wisdom?
Yes.
See how I worded that?
Yeah.
You're welcome. Yeah. And we can rate some Australian biscuits.
Okay. So this is like your trip to Nana's house and I'm Nana. Is that it?
Correct.
Yeah. Well.
Okay, good.
If I could call you Nana Lou, that'd be great. No, I do apologise if I do insult.
You can slap him. It's okay.
That's right. No.
But I didn't get invited to the Starlight dinner, so it's fine. Now, so you get to choose the first. You'll see them in order. You can choose which one you want, and then Paul and I
can't
will.
see any cup of tea or anything though.
No.
Okay.
I'm not that prepared.
I'll tell you where I'm going.
Oh, we're going straight for the
starting.
chocolates.
Before we start, I should also say this segment is called Grandma's Jar.
So what's this one even called?
Now this one's
Tim Tam.
Oh, this is a Tim Tam, is it?
Yeah, Tim Tam.
Really?
No, I thought it was from one of those packets. Like it was.
Yeah. Well, that's not in the packet.
I have bought a Tim Tam.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
I've
right.
I had to buy 3 packets of things to mix them up a bit.
Okay.
Now we're basing this on out of 5 Starlights. See what I've done there.
5 Starlight.
5 Starlights. Now we're going to base it on taste, feel, and obviously.
I am allowed to eat this, am I?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
If you need to spit it like wine tasting, that's fine, but that's kind of weird. And how are you feeling? Describe it for us, Louise.
Well, I love a Tim Tam.
I'm cleansing my palate.
And Tim Tams are also really good with hot tea and coffee because
Do you do the Tim Tam slam?
Yeah, I was about to ask
Do the
that.
Tim Tam?
that's cool.
I really should have organised that.
I love that. Yeah, that's
You reckon
right.
you can do it with water?
Nothing hot. We can't.
I can do it, but that's gross.
I'm kind of tempted.
That's not. But yes, there we go. So I love it, and I love the biscuit, and I love the chocolate, and I'm needing a bit of a sugar hit at the moment, so that's why I went for this poo.
She came out of back-to-back meetings into a podcast. I'm sure she's loving us.
You
right
are
now.
a very busy person. I do appreciate this, especially because now we're just rating.
And I've come here to eat Nana's biscuits with you.
Correct. Grandma's Jar is always a favourite segment of mine.
It worked.
You did it.
Yeah, it worked.
Well, there you go.
No,
Oh, no, he's a gross person, isn't he?
not with water.
So that's what a Tim Tam Slam is, but you do it with coffee normally.
For you from America, because we do have quite an American following, you've basically got 2 biscuits with some sort of cream chocolate in the middle wrapped in a chocolate filling coating.
And it's proper chocolate. And one of the things is I actually worked at one stage at Pepsi Foods.
Yes.
Which was when they were launching snack foods into Australia, and it was a joint venture with Arnott's Biscuits. And what was happening was they were swapping technology. So the Americans at Frito-Lay wanted the chocolate biscuit technology, from Arnott's,
Wow.
and Arnott's wanted the snack food technology from the States. So because I worked in marketing, worked on the launch of Cheetos and Doritos into Australia, and Lay's potato chips. So that was part of my marketing. And so they've never cracked this chocolate biscuit technology.
So you're the reason that America didn't get it. You held strong.
That's right. I'm not claiming that, but these are great. If you ever can get a packet of Tim Tams, they're fabulous.
Yes. Now out of your Starlights, I'm gonna write Tim Tam. I'm gonna write. I'm sorry. I have to say Tim Tams is one of my favorites.
You have to draw the stars.
Are we all writing Tim Tam as number one?
Yes. Well, no. This is just we've got 5 biscuits, and then you can write how many stars it's worth.
Oh, okay. Right.
So I don't want to reveal mine yet.
Oh. Well, I was going to say I gave it 4 Starlight.
You gave it 4 Starlights?
Yeah, because I know what my favourite is that's in there.
Yeah. I have to say the same as well.
Oh, okay.
You don't know what my favourite is.
Oh, I know what my favourite is.
You know why?
Yours is a
You know why it's a
Kingston, I
4?
Really? A Kingston? That's a bold, I'm sorry, but that's a bold comment.
You know why mine it's a 4? Is after I have like 1 or 2 of them, I can't.
It's too much.
It just feels too much.
But that's good though.
No, it's not. You obviously don't know me that well then. I like to
I
Indulge.
think that's good.
Now, a great thing about this is you talked a bit about marketing. I don't want to start there. I want to go back to the beginning of you.
So how did your parents meet?
How did your parents meet?
My parents worked together.
Really?
Really?
And so in a printing business in Sydney. And so they met when they were 19. They
young
are
love.
still alive and together. So
Yes.
they are both turn 88 this year.
No, congratulations.
So there you go. So they've been together
many
for
years of
nearly
marriage?
70 years. So
They've been married 70?
No, they've been married for 65.
And they got the letter from the Queen. While she was still alive.
Yeah, that's right.
Wow.
Yeah. So they're all good. So so they met in a printing business. So
Yes. Now, we don't need to know where you were conceived, but you were born in which country, which area?
I was born in Sydney.
Yes.
In Sydney.
So you're a Sydney girl.
I'm a Sydney girl, absolutely, on Gadigal land.
Oh, there you go. Now the typical bogan Australian question would be rugby or AFL or none.
Well, see, that's a very...
Because I'm pretty sure I saw you during an AFL game recently.
Yeah. No, I'm an AFL supporter. I'm a Swanee supporter.
Yeah.
Did you go to the grand final?
No, I didn't.
Because I did.
I've never been to a grand final, but that's another, because I have a sporting bucket list, but that's another conversation.
Welcome to Before Death.
But you asked that question as a person who is an AFL person, because there is rugby union and rugby league.
Correct.
They're two distinct
They're very,
things.
very
so
different.
You just use rugby and that puts them all together. So
which is wrong.
yeah, so in the first instance, my father actually played A-grade soccer, and he played...
Which is not rugby.
That's football.
Yeah, that's right. So
the
he
true
played
football.
for a very... in a very high level in Sydney for a long time, and played with a few people who've played for Australia. So I grew up probably on the sideline watching him, but we were a rugby league family.
Is that Rabbitohs?
Yes, that's Rabbitohs.
But a lot of people don't consider league true rugby.
Yeah, but-
Union is the original, from what I understand.
Yeah. Union was the original, and rugby league was formed because a lot of the people who were tradies and the lower paid within that wanted to start a professional league.
Yeah.
And so that's how it ended up that rugby union stayed as kind of more the white collar and rugby league was the blue collar, because they need to get paid. And they took people across. And so now it's quite funny actually when rugby league calls foul when rugby union, which has become professional as well, then steals people back to rugby union, because it's like that's how it all started. But I am I'm across all 4 sports because I'm a lover of sports, and so I will go to soccer, to AFL, to rugby league and rugby union.
Not cricket?
I go to cricket. I've actually, if we get to my sporting bucket
I
list,
feel like we would hang out a lot.
That's right. And my husband is a PE teacher.
Oh, there you go.
So sport is on quite a lot at our place.
Yeah. No, sport is what I connected with my parents with. And that's pretty much what our main topics of conversation is.
It's kind of how we started hanging out.
Yeah, it's because I'm a mad Geelong fan. And I do apologise about the last grand final, but
that's
small
right.
didn't turn up. That was
well,
horrible.
I was at the game though when Buddy scored his 1,000 goals,
Yes.
and we beat.
Correct, you did.
I'm not quite sure what happened for the rest of the year every time or since.
No, but that moment would have been incredible.
It was
So,
incredible. And we were all there. The whole family was there, my 2 sons.
Did you run out on the field?
No, but they did. My sons, who are now 30 and 27, were doing the should we, shouldn't we? Made a decision not to. And I actually think the spectacle of watching the swarm onto the field was probably better than, because if you had been down there in it, you would not have seen as much.
No.
Back in my day.
Back in your day?
I ran out onto the field for Abbott's 1,000th goal.
Oh, for
Gary Ablett.
Gary Ablett, yeah.
Yeah, that was back in, 90s? Early 90s?
That was early
Mid-90s?
Yeah.
Somewhere around there. 95 might have been.
See, we are, our family is kind of newer to AFL because our kids chose to play it.
Mm-hmm.
Our sons chose to play it, which meant we used to go once a year to the Collingwood Swans game because we love sport, but that was kind of all we knew. And then when they started playing, then we learnt the rules and understood it more. And I played netball my whole life. So I played netball for 47 years.
Yes. How are your knees?
And I don't play
If you
anymore.
played for 47 years, your knees must be fine.
I played netball for 47 years without an injury, but then I did my ACL skiing. So that's what stopped me playing netball.
Yeah.
But so I'd done that for a long time. And what I found with AFL was once I started to understand it, it's netball. It's the same. It's the same, the layout, the field, the kicking into the corners, throwing into the corner. So it's very similar. So I kind of instantly, or soccer, like it's that game.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
Sporting podcast now.
It is a sporting podcast, but I am quite...
It's like Michael's dream.
It is, actually. But I am quite disappointed you haven't given us your
rating of the Tim
rating
Tam.
of the Tim Tam.
Oh, I haven't given it. No, I'd give a Tim Tam a 5-star.
5 Starlights. So there you go. Our first Grandma Jars.
5-star. Is that the first
5-star.
time you've got a 5-star?
That's the first 5-star.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
I love a Tim
Well,
Tam.
you give it 4.
I did because it's not my favourite.
Yeah.
And you are right. Too many of them is a bit too much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ruins it.
But I'm happy just to have one. See, I'm a person who can have a whole block of chocolate and just have 2 pieces every night.
No, I have the whole block of chocolate every night.
So no, I'm much like that as well. My kids still have Easter eggs from like 2 years ago. Not from like, we're just like, you've got Easter eggs and there's like,
It's because Michael won't let them eat them.
they're in the bottom of the cupboard. They can get them.
You know what though? Easter eggs are not great chocolate.
No, but we like, they've got Lindt and Kinder ones. Like they're a better one.
The best chocolate they put in.
Those
to get
red
that
tulip
shape.
ones or whatever
Yeah,
they
to
are.
get that shape.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Let's move on from the chocolate.
compound chocolate.
Yeah, you grew up as a Sydney girl. One of the podcasts I watched, which was I think it was Executive
Anyway,
Things. It talked about you, some of your early jobs. Did you always go straight into marketing? What were your early jobs before that? It was straight out of school marketing.
While I was at school, I worked at David Jones.
You worked at David Jones.
I worked at David Jones. I was a lady in black. And
Can you remind me what a lady in black is?
David Jones wears all the black, and they just recently had that movie, which was an Australian movie, which was gorgeous, which was about working in retail. Funnily enough, that was all about a girl whose mother worked in retail, and her father was a linotype mechanic, which is exactly what my father was. So that was interesting. But yeah, David Jones, everyone wears black. So I started there, but do you know what? It was great for just understanding customer experience.
Yeah.
And it was very much that customer's always right. So it gave me a real customer focus and those skills of actually interacting with people. So I think it was invaluable. And then over time, the manager took me into the office so that I was doing, even though I was working kind of part-time, I was doing all the budgets, et cetera. And my strong suit, I love maths and numbers.
Sorry, the budget's for actually buying stock?
Well, for the stock turnover.
Yeah.
So how each of the departments were
I
performing.
see. Yeah.
So how each of the departments were performing. So I started having to do all that analysis, which is what I started doing when I first moved into marketing.
That's quite a role to be doing. Did you study for that or were you just great at maths?
Just good at maths.
I'm terrible at maths.
I'm really...
this is not trying to sound rude at all, but this also would have been before computers would have been mainstream.
Oh, yeah. And it's absolutely. So when I first started in marketing, my whole job was they used to buy in computer reports, paper computer reports.
Oh, gosh.
Because this is before computers,
Email.
You can use AI
any of
now to
those
do all
things.
this.
Yeah.
And so used to have a computer report, and we bought it from all of the wholesalers.
Yeah.
So from, a Franklin's or a Woolworths or a Coles. And they would sell all their information, and you would sit down, because I was working at Samuel Taylor then, which was Mortein and Aerogard and Heineclean, and I would write down on handwritten, because you didn't even have a computer to type into, I would write down all of the sales of Pinoclean, let's say, or Mortine and Aerogard versus their competitors, how many cans we sold, and work out the percentages and total them up and do the whole market share data by hand with just a calculator and a piece of paper. Yeah, thank you.
Did you ever stuff up the budget and order too much or too less?
No. It's good. And it's made me, I can still find, if I look at a page of numbers, I can find the number that isn't right very quickly. But I did that for years. Yeah. And that was just,
So this is before marketing.
Well, I was in the marketing department, but that's
this is
what
before
I was doing.
you took on that marketing role, because I think it started with an
FMCG.
That's the one.
Fast moving consumer goods.
Yes. That's where you started a marketing role.
Yep. And that was at Samuel Taylor.
Yes.
So I ended up being, the junior brand person on those. I then moved to Arnott's and I was there only for a short while, and then I went to Johnson & Johnson.
Obviously, Arnott's was during the American chocolate scandal, which you held up quite well. And then you actually started your own marketing agency.
After marketing, I then went to advertising and I worked in, I went to Leo Burnett Advertising, which back then was one of the biggest advertising agencies in the world. And I worked on Kellogg and Procter & Gamble and United Distillers and Penfolds Wine, so a whole range of businesses. And then I started an advertising agency.
Yeah.
So with going through all these, it sounds like you went through a lot of jobs, and particularly back in the earlier days, most people had just one job for life kind of thing, or like my dad was a mechanic and was a mechanic for 65 years and he worked for himself the whole time. Yeah. Were you always trying to just keep improving your position? And
definitely. But in marketing, people moving after kind of 3 years was not unusual in that marketing advertising
to keep it
area.
Fresh kind of thing.
Yeah. And also learning and moving from, and there was a whole group of marketing companies that are well respected. So the Unilevers, the Procter & Gambles, the Colgates, the Johnson & Johnsons, all those organisations which are renowned for also training people. So people would go into those, move through them, and you also get very connected to a lot of my friends and come from in that sector.
Yeah. Before we move on from this, because it was at this point here, this is where you kind of get introduced to Starlight. We need another biscuit.
We're going to eat another biscuit.
We have to go for all these.
Well, I've got to work with the time frame.
I won't be able to eat all of them.
That's why you only have a bite. Again, this is a tasting.
Yeah, it's tasting.
And if you need to spit the tasting, that's fine. I'm going to choose this time.
Okay, all right.
I'm going to go with the good old fashioned iced Vovo.
Oh, okay.
So that's
a real Nana biscuit.
That is a real Nana biscuit. You'll find them just there with.
When we looked at these before, I was like, I've never had one of these.
Haven't you?
No. Do you know the history of the Ice Vovo?
Well, it looks kind of like someone was trying to be a Lamington without.
Yeah, and they failed, and they just thought, we've got leftover slices, we've got some Lamington left over, let's throw it onto a biscuit.
I don't know the history. What is the history?
I have no idea, but I could have made up something.
You could have. You should have.
But then you would have believed.
These are really sweet. These are too sweet for me.
They're too sweet.
Yeah, they're too sweet. The jam and.
I like a bit of jam though. I don't mind the jam. No. Oh, I'm expecting some mini Starlights on this one. There's coconut on this. There seems to be some sort of icing and jam in the middle. And does it say Arnott on there? Look at that. I don't know if you can zoom in on that, Nafa, but the artwork on the back is second to none. So.
So what do you think?
Of this?
Yeah.
It's not bad.
Oh, look, I don't hate it. You can do half Starlights, by the way.
I wonder where the name came from.
What's the name?
Iced Vovo.
You know what? This is the research I should have really done. I shouldn't have done any research on you and done research on
researching the biscuits.
I know. How are you doing there, Paul? Oh. Wow.
I gave it a 3-star.
I gave it a 1.
Wow.
Well,
that's harsh.
It's too sweet.
He spent good money on these.
He spent good money on mine.
I spent his money. I got there this morning. He was streaming and I'm like, I need your card. He's like, what for? I'm buying things for the podcast. I'm giving it a 2.
Okay.
A respectable 2. It's, it's under average for me.
Which means it averages out at 2-star. between the three of us. So
Yeah. So there you go.
I haven't seen exactly what's in there, but I'm just giving myself space.
Give yourself some space. I'll let Paul choose the next one as well because we're not up to my favorite yet. But no, it's from this point here. You started. Was it hard, kind of starting off an agency, advertising agency, and actually making an income to support? Because you had two other partners, was it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No. Well, and I loved that, but it's something that it really gives you a lot of skills in terms of the ability to cold call, to build business, and
because cold calling is not a fun thing to do.
No, but it's great understanding of putting yourself in the shoes of people who are in small businesses because it's something that they need to be doing all the time, and so I think it's helped me post then. After I moved to Starlight to, really recognise and understand that. And I always say to people, when people are successful in their own business, hats off to them because they have often risked everything to do that. And it takes a lot of chutzpah. And
Chutzpah.
Chutzpah.
Where's that from?
It's Yiddish.
Yeah, I was going to say Greek,
guts.
but
No.
What's Yiddish?
I've heard it.
Courage,
Yiddish is, I'm pretty sure, a language.
Hebrew.
Hebrew.
It's
I don't know why I said Greek for some reason.
No. Yiddish is
Is it from a film? I feel like there's been
chutzpah.
Yeah.
Well,
and it's some chutzpah.
Yeah.
Remember
chutzpah.
that.
It's spelled C-H-U-T.
Did not know that.
P.
You get these little gems from Louise. That's why we brought her on. And I hope it becomes a thing, a chutzpah.
Yeah, I was like, get up that mountain, Michael. And he was like, I've got my chutzpah.
We've climbed some mountains recently and it hurt. That's what we were doing in Europe. We were climbing
mountains.
Yeah, I dragged him up.
And I don't like exercise. I did a marathon recently and I don't like running.
That's very weird.
Yes.
Well, I love exercise and I think it's incredibly important. It clears your mind.
Correct.
Depending on what exercise you're doing.
I like exercise in like to do for the mental health and you're not killing yourself. Doing a marathon, it's not my ideal
cup of tea. Because I told him he had to.
I am paid. No, the whole idea of before death isn't just some sort of teen angst thing for us to do random
so
things
this was one of the things that you had to do.
Yes, it is similar to the kind of
I had a theory behind. I've always thought one of what it's like to run a marathon. I didn't anticipate I'd run it without training.
He didn't, but we did it.
There's 4 of us that do this. And I thought it'd be a good team building exercise to run it together. And
without training.
Well, I think the other guys trained.
He tried training, but every time he did, he got injured. So we just said no more.
With the lads, I was like, we'll just run together and we'll just make sure we all finish together.
Yeah.
Okay.
And besides Jared missing a turn,
yes,
it went really well.
We streamed it live. You'll be able to watch all of this tonight.
How long did it go for?
6 hours.
And what did the person who finished first?
We all finished
together.
Oh, the real person that finished first. Yeah. I'm pretty sure a guy that finished an ultra marathon finished about 2 hours before us.
Yes.
So, no, it doesn't matter. It was a team. Watch the video. That's all I'm going to say.
It's only about 10 minutes of your life, but it's an entertaining 10 minutes.
Okay, good.
But the whole idea of this is embracing life before death. And that's
trying new things.
Trying new things. And that's one of the reasons why we wanted to bring you on as well, because you've done so much for so many other people. And obviously death is a part of it in some scenarios, but also making people embrace what they have. And
it gives you great perspective. And yes, I'm often heard saying, do it, embrace it, do it, because you never know what tomorrow holds. So I think it's really important to embrace every day of life.
Yeah. But I thought it was important that we touch on only a minuscule part of your life before Starlight, just to kind of show what your background was and what your passions were. And we don't, I don't think we've actually dug that deep into who you were before Starlight, but I just wanted to give a small snapshot of that. But now we kind of step into Starlight. How did you come across that?
Well, it was one of those moments that I had that I felt like I wasn't loving what I was doing anymore. Mm-hmm. And I think you've got to, because life is short, I think you need to be leaping out of bed to do whatever it is you do, whatever work is for you. You need to be leaping out of bed every day to get to that.
Yeah.
And I always say to people, if you are not, you have got to consider what you're doing and why.
Yeah.
And so I had always loved what I was doing, and I reached that point of feeling like it was a little bit of Groundhog Day and I wasn't loving it and I was only doing it for the money And I think that that's never a good reason because that doesn't make you happy.
Correct.
And so I decided that I wanted to do something with my marketing skills, something more than sell chips and shampoo. So I then made a decision that I would, and this is 20 years ago now, over 20 years ago, and there was a lot of chat then about corporate social responsibility. They were referring to it as triple bottom line. So not only your bottom line, but your being a good corporate citizen bottom line. And I thought that I would move back into the corporate world, potentially in a role that was heading up the corporate social responsibility in a corporate organisation. And the one thing that I didn't have was actually working within a charity. So I thought there was a temp role that came up, and I thought I had experience of the Starlight brand previous to that. And I also had personal experience of a family friend when I was a child and Starlight didn't exist, who was diagnosed with leukemia and died. And I remember as a child watching the impact that had on his whole family. And I saw him in pain when he was having treatment, etc. And Starlight, is there for those moments of positive distraction during that.
Yeah.
And I recognised that would have made such a difference to him and his family. And so I observed that through a child's eye. And so Starlight to me was an organisation that what it did really resonated with me. So I went there originally on a 6-month contract in their kind of partnerships role, which was, some marketing and heading up corporate partnerships. I was actually there on a maternity leave role, and then the CEO at the time asked me if I would stay. So I stayed for a number of years. Then I went back to corporate life and back to Starlight kind of 18 months later, but as the CEO. So I've been at Starlight in 2 lots.
Yes.
And I've been back to corporate world in between. So
you've been part of it for a long time now.
I have. I actually just earlier this year, in total over my 2 periods of being at Starlight, I clocked up my 20 years.
Oh wow!
Yeah. So back to your
double long service leave.
That's right. Exactly.
Yes. It's. Out of all the experience there, being a CEO, what year out of the 20 years did you become the CEO? So how many years in?
I became CEO in 2009, which was post the global financial crisis.
Oh, wow.
So, the organisation was facing financial challenges.
Australia actually went pretty good through that, thankfully.
Yeah, but we were still, in terms of our revenue wasn't as diversified as it needed to be.
Yeah.
And so we had a lot of our support was corporate support. And the first thing to go in a global financial crisis was corporate support.
Yeah.
So it was powerful in enabling us to move in a different direction and to start to, work with the board around what we needed to do to diversify our revenue. So I always say that a crisis there's always an opportunity within a crisis for you to change and get ahead. And if you look for that within those moments, you can put your organisation in a much more powerful position on the other side of that crisis. And that's what we were able to do then.
I think Tour de Kids is probably a really good example of that, if I'm not mistaken, because I remember you saying that Tour de Kids was a fundraiser where one day a year everyone would go and ride outside and they'd go get as many kilometers as they could to raise money for Starlight, whereas now it's done virtually.
Yeah.
So you can actually sponsor someone to ride a certain amount of kilometers, and it's all done online.
Yeah.
So you could either do it. I ride through Zwift, for example, and other people could ride on the road, and it used to be 40 to 60 people, depending on which year it was, who rode for 1 week and did 1,000 kilometres in a week.
Yeah.
Actually, physically together. Whereas now, and we still, Tour de Kids still has a physical ride, but it's a shorter length of time and a smaller group. And that's generally in Central Australia and supports our Starlight's Healthier Futures initiative. But we took it online, Tour de Kids online, and you're right. Now we have thousands of people who ride wherever they want, whatever bike they want, and get donations. So, moving into that virtual world which we had done pre-COVID, the crisis that was COVID enabled us to fast track that and to grow that and to put more resource onto that. So that was a benefit through COVID, as was the development of our virtual Starlight Express room. So we'd been wanting to do that for a very long time. And what COVID did give you was kind of the gift of time and resource, because we were an essential service, so in all the hospitals, but restricted. So we were able to move some of our team onto fast tracking this virtual Starlight Express room concept that we'd had for quite a while. And now we have Planet Starlight, which now has 4
Planet
live
Starlight's
shows.
always been around.
Well, Planet Starlight.
Ruin the dream.
Yeah.
Well, Planet
We just hadn't discovered the planet.
That's right. Well, Planet Starlight is now, it has 4 interactive live shows a day with captains, but to kids in any hospital right across Australia.
Yeah, it's awesome.
And they just have to log on using a QR code. Post-COVID, we all know how to use those.
Yeah. With so it sounds like since you've taken over, you took over where the global financial crisis happened. You've also experienced COVID. Was there any other time that you felt pressure where you didn't know if things were going to actually, did you ever feel like the charity may not survive?
No. When I came back to Starlight as CEO post GFC, it was really tough and challenging then.
Yeah.
But everything that we've done since then has diversified our revenue, has ensured that we have recurring revenue that we didn't have before, which means that we are, sustainable. So yes, things like COVID, it impacted our funds 25 to the tune of 25% in the first year, because we couldn't have any of our live events. But because we had already diversified our revenue, when you're not reliant on one revenue stream, it means, generally these types of crises only impact 1 or maybe 2 of those. So you're strong.
Yeah.
And so I think that's been important for us.
No, that's, just the fact that, so from 2009, how much has the program actually changed and evolved to what it is today? Because you've got things like Planet Starlight, Tour to Kids. Like, what was it? Is it even an image of what it was now compared to when you took over?
Well, it's significant. I probably back in 2009, we were probably delivering then about 400,000 positive Starlight experiences each year. That's a child either coming into our Starlight Express room or logging on to our Livewire online or having their wish granted. And last year we delivered or created 1,303,775. So, that's, how much we've grown.
Yeah.
And we have, our revenue since COVID has more than doubled.
Yeah.
Not since COVID, since the GFC.
Yeah.
Has more than doubled. Our team numbers probably the same. So it's
Cost is getting lower.
we're becoming more cost effective.
Yeah.
With the numbers of people or the numbers of kids that we're providing support. Those positive experiences created are becoming more cost effective as we scale.
Yeah. We do need to have another biscuit.
Yeah, I was going to say that. But
I'm sorry to kind of cut off the mood and the flow, but this is very important. Grandma's jar. Come on, Paul. Choose a good one. Don't choose my favourite. Oh, you've chosen my favourite.
The Kingston.
No, it's not a Kingston. That's Monte Carlo.
That's not a Monte Carlo.
That's a Kingston.
Oh, no, you've got the. Sorry, I thought you'd grab the Kingston. Oh, Monte Carlo. See.
These are my favourite.
Okay, so these aren't mine either because they're back to that sugary.
They're too sweet.
The ice Vovo.
what are these called?
Monte Carlo.
Monte Carlo.
Like
Where are they from?
The Count of Monte Cristo. They are from Monte Carlo. Is that a place? No. See, aren't you supposed to twist it?
Are you?
You can
twist
if you're
it
gonna
and then
do
you
I'll
that.
break it if I do that.
No.
And then you can have some of the cream in the middle. I once went to Granny's house for 2 weeks and ate majority of all of Granny's biscuits a lot. And I got home and my mum asked me if I'd put on weight. And I was like 10 at the time. So it was a lovely question to ask. I understand now. This is probably the first time I've had a Monte Carlo in years. It is quite sweet.
It's very sweet.
But there's a bit of salt in there as well.
It's not my favourite.
It's your favourite.
It's not. Well, what's left? Really? If he says the Kingston, I'm going to slap him.
Why?
Well, I have arguments about the Kingston.
Why?
I just do.
With whom?
With myself.
Oh, okay.
It's an internal battle. As you can see, this is a very serious matter to me. I'm going to give it 5. I'm sorry, just from the nostalgia.
No, I've given it a 1.
I gave it
back with the iceberg, but I'm a hard marker. And as I said,
See, it was a 4 for me.
It was a 4.
oh, really?
Wow.
Well, like if
I
I'm
think
hungry,
you're
they're perfect.
I think you're a biscuit lover.
I'm a sweet tooth.
He's a sweet
Yeah.
kid.
I'm
a savoury boy.
Yeah, I'm more savoury, but I am partial to chocolate or a baked ricotta cheesecake
Oh,
or a baked cheesecake of any kind.
yes. No, cheesecake is the greatest.
I'm an ice cream man.
No, I'm not an ice cream.
Really?
No,
That's strange. My wife's not an ice cream person either.
no.
Weird people.
Would never buy an ice cream cone.
No, not in a cone. A tub. And I'll eat the whole tub.
Yes, the old tub. He's doing much better. We've been cutting out sugar.
Well, actually, I was just thinking about that. Like, this is the unhealthiest thing I've had since Europe.
Yeah.
Really?
Other than a slice of your
I
daughter's
have a very
birthday cake?
small slice of my daughter's
Apart from
cake.
all that alcohol and
That was
Yeah.
in Europe though, so that doesn't count.
No, because I wanted to make sure when we get to the next trip, one of the first things we are doing is a very tough 3. We're climbing the highest peak of
Are they hard
Scotland,
mountains?
England and Wales in 24 hours. So we're all 3 combined in 24 hours.
Do you want to come?
no. How do you even get from one to the other?
Drive.
But how that you?
The first drive's like 6 hours and the next one after that's like 3 or 4. But the biggest issue is if you were to do it on their like average time, it's like 28 hours. So like we have to cut 4 hours out of the hiking.
Get a helicopter.
No.
No. Okay. I'm just saying. You want to get a helicopter for one of the other
Yeah,
ones?
Finland. It's different.
Just saying.
We don't have time to get there in time. So it's like 25 kilometers in, 25 kilometers out to the starting point.
All right.
And so that would be like a day of hiking in and out.
Yeah.
So I want to get like a plane or a helicopter in. You can get a seaplane that drops you off at a lake right next to it, which would be really cool.
Would be.
We will talk more.
I've trekked the Larapinta.
Oh, there we go. I was going to ask, what's an outrageous thing you've done?
Well, I trekked the Larapinta a couple of years ago.
And that is?
In the McDonald Ranges in Central Australia.
Oh, goodness.
And that was, it was, I was the only girl and that is no water, no electricity, no Wi-Fi, no toilets,
Yep.
no shower, that. So, and I did that and we were on site for 6 nights.
Yep.
And we got up at 12:30 one morning to trek to the top of Mount Sonder for sunrise, which was beautiful. And it was freezing. And then, of course, during the day, it's really hot.
Sound
So we had
familiar,
the little
Michael?
lights
It does.
with the little lights on our heads, which was great because I'm not fabulous with heights. And we trekked all the way up in the pitch black. And when we were then coming down, I realised that we were only like a metre away from the cliff edge on the way up.
Yeah.
So
And then you go back down and you're like, I can't believe we did this.
I know, I can't believe we did this, but
Part of our team bonding experience is I flew everyone to Indonesia and then we climbed a volcano at nighttime.
all right.
For sunrise.
For sunrise. It's
And I
pretty
cried
cool,
at the
isn't it?
top.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's just amazing when you see those. That's what I love about skiing because I ski and the family skis. And I just love, like when you're on the top of those mountains, it's just superb and the air is so clean. And, you know, when you have a beautiful bluebird day and you can see all the mountain ranges, you know, around you, it's just spectacular.
There's still an opportunity to come with us to Europe. I'm just saying, you could.
Michael just wants to tag out and not do it.
It's great. Climbing some of those mountains is physically insane.
On top of Albania though, like,
Karabi, you mean?
yeah.
Yeah.
That was pretty incredible.
It was a very incredible.
There's nothing in sight. Like it's just mountains and snow.
Yeah.
And you're looking across and there's another country of just mountains as well.
Well, that's the other thing. Like it's amazing when you go to other countries, especially when you come from Australia where there's nothing. And, you know, in Israel, you're in Tel Aviv and you're on the beach, which is the Mediterranean, and you sit there. But 60 kilometres in this way is Jordan.
Yeah.
You know, 60 kilometres in this way is, you know, well, you've got Palestine, you've got all of these countries that are so close that you can kind of throw things to. And it's so weird for us coming from Australia where you have to hop on a plane for hours and hours before you can get to another country.
Just to drive 8 hours to get to Victoria.
That's right.
I drove 7,000 kilometers on our last trip and we went to 11 countries.
Yeah.
And
we repeated some as well.
And if we drove 7,000 kilometers in Australia, it'd be like driving from like Perth to Melbourne and halfway back.
Yeah.
That's right.
No, it's such a surreal thing. Now, I have a question, and it's something that I've thought about. So with some of you've got a lot of staff that work directly with the kids that would probably build relationships with them. How do you go with their mental health when sometimes they're working with a child that's terminally ill and then they build the relationship and they deal with things like death? Is that something that you have to focus on with your team?
Absolutely. Yeah. And we focus, mental health and wellbeing is incredibly important to us as an organisation. It's a real priority. And it's part of being an authentic organisation because everything we do is based on positive psychology. And that's everything we do to support the children and young people. And so it makes real sense that everything we do for our team is also based on that. So we started working with the Positivity Institute in Australia over a decade ago and train our team in positive psychology.
What's the Positivity
Institute is it's headed up by Dr. Susie Green, and she specialises in helping people to learn how you can be more positive and how you can flip, because we all have those moments of being negative or and we need to have those. It doesn't mean that we all just walk around smiling and we're all ridiculous all the time.
Yeah.
But it means that you can also have more robust debate because it's not about the person, it's about the issue.
Yeah.
So it's a great tool. And it also means that as individuals, you can tell when you're getting a bit down or a bit negative and you can flip yourself. You have the tools to top up your cup, to flip yourself out of that and to be positive. So we do that as a baseline, but we then have special training up front for those teams to understand how they can manage their boundaries. But also then we have debriefs on a regular basis, incredibly regularly with them.
Because I understand as well you do the Shine Days. Is that right?
Yeah.
The Shine Bright Days?
Shine and Brighter Together Days.
Yeah.
Things. Yeah. So we have our value at Starlight. We have one value because I did some research and looked at I looked at the top 20 banks in the world and the top 20 charities in the world, and they all have the same
values. Which is concerning, isn't it?
And so I thought, that's interesting. And I want something that you couldn't take our name off and put another organisation's name on. So we thought about that and made a decision that we would go and move to one value. And so at Starlight, our one value is to shine.
Yeah.
And so we talk about the fact that we shine brightly for our purpose. We shine by being exceptional as individuals. We shine brighter together. And I think that what's great about shine as a value is that it doesn't matter what your role is within the organisation, at any moment you can say, okay, am I shining and how can I shine more brightly? So you all know what that is. Whether you're a Captain Starlight and you're with a child at that moment, how can I shine more brightly? Or if you're someone who is on our reception and answering the phone. So it doesn't matter what role you have in the organisation, you can always ask that question. And if you're writing an email to someone, how can I, zhoosh this email up so that it's shining? And so it reflects who we are.
Yeah. Because I'd heard that before, and that made me literally just kind of be gobsmacked to the fact that there's so all these banks have the same values as charities, and I just love that. I can't think of any other. Now thinking about it, I don't know if any other charity has just had one shining.
Well, I've not heard of another organisation that's had just one value.
Yeah.
But you picked a value that really does encapsulate pretty much anything within a business, like within an organisation. I shouldn't really say business, but an organisation.
But in saying that though, this is an organisation, but there is quite a lot of business in it, is there not? Having to deal with money coming in, money coming out.
We're a business.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're a business.
Where are you as a CEO more hands-on? Are you very hands-on with the business side or more with the kind of
head of the face of the company?
Yeah, the face. So like what are you hands-on with?
Yeah. So I know the business side, because to be the face of anything and to be the person answering questions, you have to be across the business.
Again,
because
we discussed because I couldn't find any skeletons in your closet, so you're the face for it. So yes.
Yeah. So it's being across those, what the business is doing from a programs perspective, and right through to all of our numbers and metrics.
Yeah.
So it's knowing all of those. And I also am a people person. So knowing our team. And, I hopped off the plane here in Adelaide yesterday and walked out, and there were 4 of Starlight team members sitting at a table. And what it turned out, and I walked over and went, well, hello, welcoming committee. And we were all having a laugh. But it was one of our team members from Sydney had been in Adelaide, but had reached out, and 2 of our team members who originally are from Sydney and now live in Alice Springs were on their way back to Alice Springs through Adelaide. And the other one is an Adelaide team member who heard they were all going to be meeting at the airport and had come out. Yeah. And my flight just happened to arrive. So everyone was there. And
then the boss rocks up.
Yeah, it ruins it all.
Oh, the boss is here.
I feel like that every time I get into the car with you and Decky and Jared.
The boss is back.
No, hopefully they don't feel like that. So
No, this is good. But because of time, we have to push our biscuits.
Okay.
Let's keep going. Let's have another biscuit. I'll let you choose. You're up to the choices.
Okay. Well,
there's 2 choices left.
I'm just going to say I'm going to take the Kingston.
That's fine. And I can give you my reasons of why the Kingston.
Okay. I'm taking.
I hope this isn't.
I haven't had any of these biscuits for years.
Now let's.
Except for the Tim Tam. I have had a Tim Tam in years. But
my reasons for not liking the Kingston. It's like eating sand.
Oh.
In my opinion, it's got that gritty.
What I wanted to say is not appropriate to say in front of Louise about you.
She's young and hip.
No.
Fair enough. But do you feel the grittiness?
No, but I don't mind that. That's texture.
Of course you would.
That's texture. That's okay. And it's honey.
Is it?
It's honey and chocolate, I think.
Is it?
I'm going to have 2 bites of this.
One thing I have enjoyed with all the biscuits, except for the Ice Vovos, is a hint of salt that kicks in every now and then.
So the Kingston is a strong 5-star.
Wow. Kingston's your favourite. Of course it is.
It's my 4-star.
We do need to fit the BPBs in.
We do? Do you want to do that one for the BPBs?
Yep. So I'll let you guys do your rating on this.
Mine's a 2.
Wow.
Yours is a
4.
Cool. I'm happy with that.
I feel like you're all both.
We're in sync.
You're both sellouts. That's all I'm going to say.
But we will have to wrap up the actual podcast. What we do after the podcast, we just talk random crap for another 10, 15 minutes.
Okay.
For the people that pay extra.
Yeah.
Because we take money from people and don't give.
I give plenty.
You give plenty. But we give a little bit more. We let your hair down a bit more.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
We're going to find out the real Louise.
We're going to find out what you get up to on a Friday night.
Yeah. So, but how can we actually support Starlight Foundation, Paul?
Well, I'll be actually doing another charity event later this year.
Really? When?
October?
No, don't look at me. I'm terrible.
What are we doing?
Game Changers.
Cool.
What I did in 2019. I do it every year.
What do I have to do?
You'll probably just have to feed me.
Oh, it's one of those ones. Whenever he does events, I'm cooking in the background.
Yeah. In his apron.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll be raising money. But Starlight Children's Foundation in Australia, it's really, Louise should really advertise.
Louise.
The best place to support.
Whilst you're eating the Kingston.
Yeah, just hand over the front.
I try. Yeah. Well, we would love them to support you, and they can always support Starlight, starlight.org.au. So go there, and whatever's happening, it will direct you to that activity from a fundraising perspective, and also then you can see what we do as an organisation, et cetera, and see some of the great stories because we're all about storytelling.
Yeah.
And so if you're watching this, this will be the end of the main podcast. We'll do an extra little.
We do have a gift for Louise.
Yes, we should do it now, actually. Yeah.
Now, we actually did a fundraiser for Starlight
Last year,
where we made a calendar. A very,
do you know about this?
No,
a very artistic calendar. My wife's a big fan of it. Paul,
This is the final calendar that we have. This is actually the last of the last. So we have the Starlight Children's Foundation Firefighter Charity Calendar.
You can show the camera if you'd like.
So it's our friend Kiki. She's in there as well. And then there's also Micheal and myself. So we actually, found fire trucks and
yep. No, I spoke
got
to
the full outfits.
A gentleman that happened to collect fire trucks. I hope you enjoyed this.
So you could put it up in the office, or that made
Okay, thank you.
I think that was
a lot of-
$15,000 that raised.
We raised about $15,000.
No,
Yes.
I don't know about this. There you go.
Well, the
There's a
people
lot of
in the
us in
office are obviously
underwear.
not talking about the charity.
No,
fund,
they're not. Because we worked hard on that and we rubbed a lot of oil into our body.
Yeah, we actually just used mostly by the end of it a bottle of water and was it straight olive oil?
It was straight olive oil
Yeah.
out of a can.
Yeah.
So they could cook you after.
They could.
Good-o.
But no, we thought we'd give that the very last calendar that we have.
Thank you. Thank you.
You'll have, sorry we didn't give it to you earlier, but we expect to see it in the office.
Yeah, and I'll send you the digital images, right?
Okay.
Because that's what you want.
Yes, exactly.
In December, if you put that as your background,
Yes.
and you put the window, you can split your window so it's like on
Yeah.
half the monitor. If you put it on the left-hand side for December, we're peeking around the browser on the side. So just so if anyone hasn't seen it,
There you go.
it actually looks really cool.
Thank you.
But yeah, thank you so much for being on. And obviously we'll do the BPBs now, which has supported us on patreon.com/before death.
Yes.
And that's it, isn't it?
Yes, this has been our most sophisticated podcast.
Yes. Like, comment, and subscribe.
Yes.
Before death.